Well, it looks like the tropics are starting to wake up again as we have two systems out there in the Atlantic we're going to keep an eye on, and we are still in summer. So look for the return of highs in the 90s with heat indices in the lower hundreds and then afternoon showers and thunderstorms this week. More on this after the intro. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Christopher Mann with the National Weather Service here in Slidell, Louisiana. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the forecast for August 8th through August 15th. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the general pattern for the next week. It's actually quite, I'm going to say stagnant, but there's not really much to talk about as high pressure dominates the region. As you can see, the first few screens are mainly Monday and then going into Tuesday. It looks like high pressure is going to dominate the southeastern United States and the eastern Gulf of Mexico with afternoon showers and thunderstorms. And then as we head towards Wednesday right here and throughout the remainder of the work week and into the weekend, high pressure continues to dominate pretty much all the southeast United States. This is going to continue to lead to temperatures slightly above normal around those mid-90s with lows in the 70s, closer towards 80 near the coast. And then again, afternoon showers, thunderstorms, usually located with the sea breeze and possible lake breeze. So let's take a closer look across the area. The first stop is going to be in Macomb, and with Macomb we're looking at highs each day around the mid-90s range, maybe lower 90s, with around a 30 to 40% chance of rain each afternoon, maybe 56 when we get to the end of the week. As we go towards our next area, which will be Baton Rouge, we're looking for the high temperatures again to be in those mid-90s throughout the entire week. Lows will be in the mid-70s as well. And then because we're a little bit closer to the coast, we'll see those afternoon showers and thunderstorms probably 50 to maybe 60% each afternoon. Then our next stop is going to be Hammond. As we look at Hammond, not too much of a change with highs again in those lower to mid-90s, mostly mid-90s, with lows in the mid-70s. And again, rain chances will be 40 to maybe 6% each afternoon. And once the sun goes down, these showers and thunderstorms should die off. Our next location is Houma here. Houma is a little bit cooler, mainly because we'll probably get those sea breeze to move through a little bit earlier in the day. Highs will be in the lower to mid-90s. Lows will still be in the mid-60s, mid-70s, I apologize, possibly upper 70s, with daily afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Looking towards New Orleans now, as you can see, our high temperature will be in the lower to mid-90s, but the lows will be really close to 80 degrees each day. Probably see a couple of them in the lower 80s. And then our rain chances will be 40 to 60% each afternoon as well. Looking towards the Mississippi Gulf Coast now, here's Gulfport with highs in the lower 90s. That's thank you towards the sea breeze as it pushes through every afternoon. The rain chances will be a little bit lower because high pressure will have a greater impact on that area. And then as we look at Pascagoula, that's also going to see highs in the lower, maybe mid-90s, lows in the mid-70s. And then chance of rain is going to be 20 to maybe 40% each afternoon. So with no real system bringing down the rain, and we're mainly relying on afternoon heating, sea breeze, lake breeze, and possible outflow boundaries, we're not expecting widespread rainfall. However, most of the area should see anywhere from a quarter to half an inch, maybe an inch, with obviously some localized higher areas, of course, where any thunderstorm can move over and sit for a little while. Now, without the expectation of numerous to widespread showers and thunderstorms, those afternoon temperatures are going to climb into the mid-90s over most of the area. What does that mean? Well, it's summer, so look for those heat indices again to climb into the hundreds, possibly topping out around 107, maybe even 108 in a few locations each afternoon. However, mainly looking in that 100 to 105 degree range each afternoon across the region. Well, that is it for the local area, so now let's focus in on the tropics. And as of right now, the Hurricane Center is focused on two areas in the Atlantic right now. Both of these will be approaching the Lesser Antilles over the next few days. Disturbance number 1 has a 50% chance of developing in the next 48 hours, with a 60%. Disturbance number 2 has a 30% in the next 48 hours, and a 40% chance in the next 5 days. So keeping a close eye on these systems right now. Even if they were to move into the Gulf of Mexico, it is still 7 days or greater out, so we have time, and obviously we need to continue paying attention because it is hurricane season and we just moved into August. And of course, as we move in towards August, we move towards the peak of hurricane season, which is in mid-September. Right now on August 8th, you can see we really start to ramp up climatologically, and if you look at our August and September, the climatological patterns suggest that systems have a much better Gulf of Mexico and moving towards us. So with us moving towards the peak of hurricane season, we need to be prepared, always keeping an eye on the tropics. And with that preparation, you need to make sure you have your emergency kit ready. Always check that out. Don't forget about your pets. And as we mentioned, stay weather ready. And what is one way to remain weather ready? And that is to know your location or know your zone. Know if you are in an area that may have evacuation orders if a hurricane is approaching your area. We don't evacuate for the wind, however, we do evacuate for water. So make sure you listen to your emergency management officials and elected officials for your parish or counties. They will let you know if you need to evacuate the area. But also be ready and know what type of impacts you can expect in your location. You may not be near the coast, but you could be near a river, so you need to be worried about river flooding from the heavy rainfall from tropical systems. Know what type of impacts you can see from wind. Know if there are any trees around your area. So again, know your zone, know your location, know your surroundings, and be ready in case a hurricane does approach us this year. So one other last thing to bring up is we made a change to our severe thunderstorm warning and how it goes out to the public. You have heard us talk about WEA, or the Wireless Emergency Alert System. That usually goes off for tornadoes. It also goes off for our higher risk flash flood warnings, but we have now made it to where it goes off for only what we consider the extreme severe thunderstorm. Not all severe thunderstorms are the same. Some are what we would call base. They just basically have winds around 60 miles an hour and hail quarter size. But then you get those severe thunderstorms that can bring destructive damage to your area. Looking at hail the size of baseballs or greater, and you're looking at winds that are in excess of hurricane force, so 80 miles an hour or greater. That it can happen, and with those systems that actually bring an increased risk to life, we want to make sure that that gets out to you and the public. That way you are prepared if you have any of these destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. Well, that is it for the forecast right now. Real quick rundown again. Remember, we are moving towards a typical summer pattern. It is summer still. We're only into mid-August. Look for those afternoon showers, thunderstorms, especially closer to the coast where the best chance of rain will be, especially over southeast Louisiana this coming week. High pressure is going to dominate the region, so when those showers and thunderstorms don't develop during the morning hours, or even if they don't develop like over coastal Mississippi or a little bit further north over southwest Mississippi, look for temperatures to get into those lower to mid 90s across the entire region. And if we don't get any of those thunderstorms to provide some brief cooling, look for heat indices that will definitely jump into the lower hundreds throughout the entire week, possibly even above 108, so just keep an eye on it. However, this should be a little bit better than what we dealt with about a week ago. And then keep an eye on the tropics, obviously. We are watching 2 systems right now. Again, if any of them were to impact the area, we'll let you know. And we still have more than 7 days to watch it before they would even get into the Gulf of Mexico. So just keep an eye, make sure you're prepared, and let's keep an eye on those tropics throughout hurricane season as we approach the peak of hurricane season, which is in mid-September. And then last thing we went over was that addition to the severe thunderstorm warnings, where if we were expecting a a destructive severe thunderstorm, we would tag it with what we call that destructive tag, and it would alert the WEA system to your smartphones, like tornadoes and the considerable or catastrophic flash flood events, or what we call flash flood emergencies. But thank you again. Hopefully this was a beneficial briefing for y'all. Have a great week, stay cool, and have a great night.